projects, when you get this information that has been simplified, in most cases they don't use it because it's complex.
Very complex.
Very complex. And that's how we come in to help to the level we can, but also when we come in, information is still not sufficient. It is lacking. Data mining is very difficult because the entities do not publish what is required according to international standards like we do recommend. But even what is required, sometimes it's hard to interpret. It's hard to interpret.
Only one time, as a journalist, I was privileged to attend one of the local council sittings. So I go to my chairman, Ali Mundanyama. I said, you can come and be part of it. And there was a road that had to be worked on. I think it's Nabisal something in Machindi. These guys came with papers, dished out to us.
On short notice.
Now they began. And even I couldn't internalize some of the writings, of the calculations. And these counselors, of course, you know, for a counselor, not in bad spirit, there's no academic qualification required. So I was seeing them moving, turning, and I was like, but now this person I know very well. If I may not understand this,
what of my grandmother or my auntie?
Then what of those people? So how best can we simplify, disseminate, package this information to ensure that the right people get it and can understand?
Now that's why we come in, and we've been working with PPDA and Ministry of Finance to implement the open contracting for infrastructure data standard. With this standard, you're able to have entities put all the required data into the system, into the procurement portal, both project and contract data, and then we turn it into user-friendly information. But we'll also be working with them to strengthen their capacity as public entities, because the cost program is an intermediary program that will at some point end. But by the time we end, we should ensure that we want to make sure that government has mainstreamed the entire cost approach within its systems and processes. So one of our mandate at the moment, and we're also working with Civil Society like Africa Freedom Information Center to strengthen government's capacity on interpreting and data analysis and presentation. So we hope as time goes on, more user-friendly data will be published. And when someone accesses the GPP or the Government Procurement Portal, the EGP, they should be able to access user-friendly information, understand government releases in budgets on infrastructure projects, know how much money has been released, different percentages. So when you see this information, you see where the money has gone, because the standard also provides for a geomapping. So the entity will be required to put coordinates of where is the project located. This much money, this is a start and end date, this is a contractor, consultant, you can access this and this information. They are the bill of quantities, the summarized version is also uploaded, and the project is located here. So even the members of parliament, this has been one of their concerns. Once such is done, they will be able to get all the information they need in a centralized point, which is the Government Procurement Portal or the EGP.
Well, to a layman, there is one recommendation that government, and I want to believe either UNRWA or KCCA, that mandates any contractor at least have a signpost or a billboard that indicates who the contractor is, but money is not part of this.
It is supposed to be.
Because
it is supposed to be.
I don't know if you've moved and seen many of these. Have you ever seen any with the amount of money?
It's very rare to find it, but I
because,
remember...
that is what will enable me pick interest, rather than seeing this road, the contractor, the time it's going to spend, and the, monies promote accountability. I'm told this was one of the requirements.
Yes.
But I've moved through many sites. I've not seen the amount of money.
I think it's only one entity, Wakiso, that tried to publish upon a recommendation to put how much money the project cost. But one of the concerns we had, like from UNRWA, the concern was when entities, especially the citizens, they do not understand. If they see a lump sum of 5 billion on a small, for them, they may not even measure whether the project is 5 kilometers or how long the project, big the project is. But when they see a lump sum, they will think that it's a lot of money. But what we are recommending is breakdown. This much money, or the project is 5 billion. 1 billion is consultancy for design. This much billion is for works for the contractor. This much 500 million is M&E for the entity. If you break it down, people will understand and they will know whom to engage if work is not done very well. If the contractor has been paid at a little amount compared to the amount of work that they have to do, the citizens will engage. So because the law requires that the entities publish the cost of the projects on the billboards or the signboards or the infrastructure walls. But this is not done. Can we? And that's one of the recommendations we give. If we're saying we're going to be addressing corruption risk or fighting corruption, like we say in Uganda, let's be open, publish information, but also put in place incentives for citizens to engage. That is one of the approaches, publishing information, but also enabling citizens to use information that has been published in the right way, to engage on monitoring and also following up and making recommendations to government. And when recommendations come, government should be willing to address the recommendations from the citizens. Because there is a survey we ran in 2017 and citizens there's a lot of apathy. They were fed up. They are tired of recommending because they don't see action. So let's also appreciate recommendations coming in from the media, from citizens, from civil society, not only from our reports as government. Because there are things citizens and other stakeholders see that we do not get to see on this project. So citizen engagement is very important, and for that concern of the comment from the First Lady, maybe there wasn't any information published, so it's hard for people to follow up what they don't know. What they don't know. It's very
well, still looking at the infrastructure sector, where we have now corruption, there's also another issue, that is the national debt. And we find that most of the times we borrow in the aspect of infrastructure because our government has prioritized so much infrastructure development. When you move border to border, the roads are tarmacked, everything. Let's look at this issue called the debt. Infrastructure is one of the sectors where our debt is growing.
Yes.
We are borrowing. But there's always been a concern that sometimes the money we are borrowing, we are not putting it to proper use. That is in terms of timely commencing of these projects. How is CAST ensuring that we can limit this, fight this, where we are given a loan, we are supposed to start paying, the project has never started. We are given a loan, we're supposed to start paying, we've not compensated people where this road is going to pass, where the hospital is going to be built, where the school is going to be built. At the end of the day, the debt is accruing, yet there is actually no project on ground.
So on addressing the deficit and the issue of borrowing, our recommendation, actually, this stemmed from the experience we had on the Kampala, the Interior Express. We worked on that project, and we saw a lot of challenges that the entity, the ministry and the UNRWA experienced. And our main recommendation in regards to that is, and across other projects that we've worked on, is before we get to borrow, let's put our house in order. And this is not only affecting borrowed money, even GOU funded money that we get from our taxes. Before we start, we say, okay, fine, we have put a project in a procurement plan as an entity. Before we get to spend, to get money to implement it, let's put our house in order, ensure that citizens are informed that there's a project X that's going to be in this community. We have a list of those who are going to be compensated. We have engaged with them. We've done negotiations. We've started initial citizen engagement meetings with the affected persons. And so that by the time we get the money, we are set. So initial preparation. So we've been seeing a very low performance of government entities on the preparation stage of projects. before we get to procurement and implementation. I'm happy that following those recommendations we made, Ministry of Finance now has worked on, we had an amendment of the PPDA Act, and we also work with this work ongoing on the PPDA regulations, and we've seen reviews on the procurement period. Usually it was taking longer, but they've been reviews. It has been reduced. The number of days a project or a contract procurement was taking has been reduced. We're yet to get the final version, so I cannot speak on a draft, but I'm aware there is an ongoing process to amend the process, because we've been complaining the procurement process is very, very long, and this affects especially money that has been borrowed. When the entity delays in procurement, it affects the end date of the project. You get into paying double interest if the money has been borrowed, and other associated challenges. So we're seeing those reviews, and what we would recommend is when these reviews are done and the final documents are published, can we have deliberate efforts to ensure that entities comply to the right legal and policy framework? Because as we said, compliance with the legal and policy framework has been one of the major weaknesses that we have. And if we do not implement the law and we only end at talking corruption, delays in procurement, ABCD, mismanagement, inefficiencies and all that note, and we do not implement the law, then it's going to be difficult for us to address some of these challenges.
Olive, you bring a very interesting bit of the entire story, because you've talked about the weaknesses, you've talked about the recommendations, but I want to use the word if we do not implement. Government of Uganda seems very determined to fight corruption, to fight all these delays, and to reduce the national debt. His Excellency, most of the times, you once had zero tolerance to corruption, you once had Chisanja, Hakuna Mchezo. Talk about institutions, Office of the Auditor General of Government, the IGG's office. We've had a number of commissions aimed at this. What is lacking to see this implementation? Because we have a problem, we know how to solve it. Why aren't we?
One of the things could be the resources, especially the human resource. Okay. We have a series of so many local governments, for example, but from our experience and in the latest index that we had, some local governments, for example, are not well equipped in regards to human resources. You find the district engineer, for example, is the one who does procurement, is the one who is also required to do, ends up doing publish information on projects. Definitely,
that will be an impossibility for transparency.
So there are human resource constraints within the entities. Beyond human resource constraints, we also have challenges to do with equipment. Entities do not have the required, some officials do not have the required equipment to undertake, to enhance access to information, like computers, access to internet, and some other challenges. The other concern we see, if we do not work on the perception issue, yes, it's perceived that there is corruption. What have we done? We end at talking, but we do not act. If we continue talking and we do not act, we will not fight it. And for us at Coast, we do say that address it before it happens. Do not wait for corruption to occur and then you start talking corruption has occurred. We have codes of conduct. How many people know that we have codes of conduct?
Well, let me sorry to cut you short, but let me just remind our viewers that you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning by simply going to our various social media platforms, and our WhatsApp number is coming up on the screen. That is 0709 60 25 92. Please send in your views, your opinions on the topic of discussion, how best we can promote transparency, and also how best we can reduce the impact of our national debt in terms of infrastructural development. I'm with Olive and we're discussing this. We need your contribution. Well, one coming in, that is, I thank you for the great job being done there. Opening the minds of communities about infrastructure development is worthwhile. As a country, we must minimize witch-hunting individuals, especially those involved in promoting transparency. We must also desist from the untouchable or untouchability mindset. Very interesting one there. Thank you so much, but we didn't get your name. However, we got your message. Please give us your name as well, and even where you're watching us from. We appreciate feedback, and please keep it coming. Yeah, there is that assumption that they're the untouchables, and sometimes people give up hope in terms of maybe whistleblowing. Then there's also that belief, actually, that there's witch hunting. There's some of the things that could hinder, like one of our viewers has attributed to that.
Yes, they do, because when you're threatened by word of mouth or even by action, you tend to be timid to act the next time. But my encouragement to stakeholders is, we have all been threatened, but we have not given up. Let's do what we are supposed to do. The ends will justify the means. We'll get action. You know, when you give up, they know that you're timid, and then you will not act, and the problem will continue. And the mission we have is to see a better Uganda. We want to see better lives resulting from better service delivery. But we cannot do that if we are all going to be timid, if we're all going to be threatened, and then we sit back. Let's keep to what we are supposed to do.
Well, that message was coming in from Namisi Bruno Ignatius from Sironko. Thank you, Namisi from Sironko. Thank you, of Sironko, for watching this show. And please keep it with us. Very interesting there. Do not be afraid, like Oliver said.
Yes, I also think beyond the human aspect, because as human beings we'll always be threatened and scared, but we shouldn't give up. But we need government to put in place and strengthen the systems, processes and capacities for managing these things. If the systems are clean, it's going to be complex for some to break through, to break into the system. Let's use the systems, let the enabling environment be fair for everyone and be clear, let people be aware of what is going on within government, especially on infrastructure delivery processes. And we want to thank our mother Ministry of Works and Transport. Really, they've been on our side. They've really supported our work across all entities, and we want to commend, especially the minister. He's really been very supportive, and the Office of Permanent Secretary and the Engineer-in-Chief. Let's not give up. Let's have strong systems, strengthen the systems, and make sure that entities and all stakeholders comply with the systems.
Well said. But also my concern now is, CAST, you're doing a great work, and we'd appreciate, at least I've been able to look at some of the projects where you've promoted key, that is public or community involvement, and done some bit of empowerment. But you see, my worry is, how is continuity being factored in? Most of the times in our country we have good initiatives, but you see, they only last as long as the funder is still funding, as long as the project. But projects come to an end. We don't know when this may come to an end. So where's the aspect of continuity?
One approach is when Uganda joined COST, they made a commitment that the COST approach, by the time the program leaves Uganda, the approach will be fully mainstreamed within government systems, processes, and practice. And this is why we are working with PPDA and Ministry of Finance first to have the international standard we promote, the OC for IDS, mainstreamed into the government procurement platforms. That will enhance disclosure, or will ensure that disclosure is done using international standards. And then working with the Office of the Prime Minister, who is the core in the use of barazas, who is the champion in baraza approach. We are also strengthening usage of the baraza approach to strengthen citizen engagement in public infrastructure projects. And we've recently made a recommendation that the baraza approach should be recognized by law and should be made mandatory in all infrastructure projects. And so we think if those two, disclosure is enhanced within government, it's standard, and the citizen engagement approach is strengthened using our approach. They really like the way we engage the citizens, because they told us previously when they were going to engage on their own, they were getting a lot of resistance. But when they started engaging together with us and they learned how we approach the citizens and other stakeholders, they appreciated, and they are now doing it the way we were doing it. So we're looking at mainstreaming everything we are doing within existing processes and systems. We do not seek to create new platforms or new systems, and that is why you may not see us creating a new platform, maybe apart from the website, which will eventually remain a government property when we leave. So whatever we are doing, we're ensuring that we mainstream it within existing processes and systems, and also strengthen the law to ensure that when the program closes at some point, the law appreciates what we are doing.
Very good work being done there by CAST Uganda. Let me have your parting shot.
My parting shot is, colleagues, dear stakeholders, this is a new year, and we are very much determined to work with you in advancing transparency, accountability, and citizen participation in the delivery of public infrastructure projects. We invite you to follow us on our platforms, to comment and share all the information you have that will help us improve, but also serve you better. And we invite all, especially government entities, to address the recommendations we've been making in the various reports, and also on different platforms like this we've had today. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Olivia, for having phone time this morning. I believe this has been really something very informative, most of the public knowing that it is their right to seek for this information. And of course, government to ensure that this information is readily available. I'm one person that strongly believes in the barazas. I've been able to attend a few of them, and I've seen how the local community gets information and actually speaks out, reveals a lot that the authorities, the concerned people now get to know and take action. Let's interest ourselves. Sometimes we have the I don't care attitude, but this is your money. This is the tax that you pay that is being wasted away. So let's all involve ourselves in issues of transparency and promoting accountability in infrastructure development. Till tomorrow, have a lovely day. Ensure you're fully vaccinated, and let me leave you with Ruben, very, very ready to give you more regarding the Nations Cup and in the arena of sports. God bless you.